Hey, boy, have I got a treat for you today. We're going to be talking with Christina Beavis in this conversation segment, so don't go away. So, Christina, it's so good to see you.
Hey, it's great to see you, Michael.
Yeah, I must admit, we've known each other for quite a number of years now, haven't we?
Yes, I don't even know how many. Many.
It's a long time. You've almost been like a fixture in the domain calendar, just about every conference with his ICANN, NamesCon, or whatever.
Absolutely. We're our let's do lunch and just have a moment of silence and a moment of peace with our meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, I enjoy every one of those bit of peace. But we get the business out of the way, and then we go along and we move on to what's really important, which is families and all that sort of stuff.
Family and life, yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's which is really, really exciting. But I know you really well. But there's a lot of people in the domain industry, and broader than the domain industry, in the business community, who don't know who Christina Beavis is. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to be able to just, if you just share, where do you come from, and why is your accent a little bit different, say, particularly from mine, and so forth. So I presume you were born at a very young age?
Yeah, very young. Yeah, I was born at a very young age in Montreal in Canada, which I don't know how many people know, but that's Quebec, very French speaking. Yeah. I don't speak any French.
So parlez-vous français?
No, mais no.
No?
In fact, often my French and Spanish get intermixed. So I moved out to the west coast of Canada for the next 10 years, and that's probably why we didn't speak any French. But I grew up in Canada. The Canadian accent is always strong. I get called out on it all the time.
Yeah, you're out and about?
Out and about.
And you're an orange?
Yeah, I was on a call this morning, and within the first sentence, she's like, "Oh, you sound like you're from Canada," and I'm like, "I don't even know what I said."
It's funny. I was, as you know, I was born in Australia, but I grew up in Northern Ontario in Canada.
Yeah.
And so when I was 1.5 till I was 10, and it was very formative years, and so all my Australian friends here, they think you've got the strangest accent, Michael. Yeah. Because it's sort of like a bastardized form of Australian and Canadian and everything like that. And then when I deal with people from Canada and the US and all the time, I just slip into the accent. And,
it just kind of comes back naturally.
Yeah, then my Australian friends just laugh at me. But anyway, so you were born in Montreal, and then you moved to the West Coast.
Moved to the West Coast and then back to Ontario. I think when I was 9 or 10, we were back in Ontario and ended up in Ottawa. So I went to high school in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah. Government town.
Yeah, that's like the equivalent of Canberra here. Yeah. So
yes.
So you went on, you did your high school obviously in Ottawa, and then
then I was very excited to get out of my parents' house, and I went to Kingston and went to Queen's University. So I went to university there, and I studied psychology. University. Yeah, Queen's University. Yeah.
Isn't that the place that Anne of Green Gables went to?
I think it is. And actually, my kids were telling me.
Well, there was a fictitious character, but we'll just leave that. Let's go through. But that's one of Canada's most famous people, which doesn't.
That's true. That's true.
The strange thing is, I went to Prince Edward Island with some friends, and my family, and we went to Anne of Green Gables' house.
Yes, I've been.
Think about that for a second. She did not exist.
I know. It's true. And actually, I loved those books as a child, and then started reading them to my kids, and they're a little inappropriate. I'm sure they're still great, but there's quite a lot of racism in them. And I was like, I'm not sure I want to read this to my kids, to be honest. Yeah. So we just left that. But yeah. So at Queen's, I was studying.
You got to get the woke version.
I'm hoping there is one. It's a great story. Yeah, and they've watched the Netflix version. They've all watched. So
of course, I'm in the depths of despair. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife forced me to watch those on a semi-regular basis. I must admit I'm a bit more of an action type fan. But anyway, so you're at Queen's University, which is actually a very prestigious university. So
it's a good university. Yeah. I studied psychology and biology.
Oh,
And
psychology and biology.
yeah,
Sort of like,
I loved it. I loved the brain and behavior, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Like,
I was super interested in that. I don't know what I thought I wanted to do with my life. I mean, I don't think anyone at that age, most people don't know. But I enjoyed studying it. So that's what I did. And actually after my first year, so in Canada, you can get student loans, OSAP.
isn't that
I got it my first year. It was great. The second year I got nothing. So then I'm like, well, I don't have any money. So I actually had to go to school part-time, 60%. And I worked 2 jobs. I worked at a fried chicken place and I worked at a clothing store. It's actually where I met my best friend that I'm still best friends with to this day. So it was good, but it was like, it was a bit of a struggle through that time because I'm working 60 hours a week, going to school, 60% course load, and you're just like burning the candle at both ends, you know?
Oh, that is tough. That is really tough. So let me understand this. You're working at a clothing store, so you're like all this fashion type stuff and fried chicken. They don't really go together, do they?
They don't.
Like, if you eat the fried chicken, you're not going to fit into the clothes.
No. Well, at that age, though, you can eat whatever you want, or at least I could. I was lucky. And to be fair, the fried chicken, that's what fed me, right? Like we were able to eat while during our shifts. It was like, yes, give me some chicken.
I must admit, I love those years where you literally could eat anything. And you wouldn't put on any weight or anything like that. And like I would just go and graze the backyard, for instance, just go along and eat the grass. That's fine. I'm good now.
It was poutine every night after the bar. You know what poutine is? That's another great Canadian food.
Yeah, well, I don't know. What?
You don't know poutine? That's the French fries with the squeaky cheese, like cheese curds and gravy.
Really? No, I've never.
Well, next time we get together, we're gonna have to find a good poutine. Yeah. That's like a Eastern Canadian French classic. Absolutely. It's as much of Canada as like maple syrup, I think. So.
Oh, maple syrup. Like, you know what's a blight upon humanity is when you get maple flavored syrup. Seriously? Like when you've grown up on maple syrup, like the real stuff.
Proper.
Yeah. I'm prepared to pay my $20 for a little thing of it in Australia here. I like, if I am pancakes, I'm having the real thing. I'm not having this maple flavored crap. Yeah.
Whatever they I agree.
Yeah. So you would study psychology and biology. Like what a combination. So you basically you understand the mind and the body, and you freaked all your friends out with all your great amounts of knowledge, and you said, I'm going to go in and get this first job after my fried chicken and my clothing store experience. And it was what?
So interesting. So I actually, because of how this all went down with working so much and going to school, I ended up leaving school. I think I only needed a credit and a half for my degree, and I never got it. I have it now, but I didn't have it at the time. So, and I can remember this. I went to work for my best friend's mom at a real estate company.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just a means to an end. I'll be here less than a year. And she's like, yeah, I'm not keeping you for long. This is just, I need you to fill the gap, right? Ended up being there close to 10 years. Which is crazy. It was crazy. And during that time, I was able to do business consulting. Like she let me kind of create my own role. We built a fairly big real estate team, and I was doing real estate consulting all over North America. So that was kind of my first foray into consulting, and I absolutely loved it. That was my passion. Yeah.
So you would go in and essentially help fix real estate
business. Yeah, absolutely. So you go into whether they're trying to grow a team, some only had 1 or 2 employees, some had 10 to 15 employees, you know, what's kind of like lacking, where are the pieces that they're struggling? And as an outsider, it's pretty easy to see those sometimes. You know? Even in my own business, sometimes people like, I need someone to come in and be like, Christina, there's really obvious things over here that you're missing. Like, I know. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So you spent 10 years doing that and getting a huge amount of experience then.
Yes. And then, I loved it. And I traveled all over North America. Like I said, I had clients, California, Whistler, New York, you know, Manhattan, like everywhere. Can't even remember all the places, you know, so it was great. And I love the travel bug, right? Like that's definitely a part of who I am, is let's move around, see new people, see new places, like that explorer in me. So that was great. And then in 2008, I had my third child, and I was like,
wow,
let me try maternity leave. Because for the other kids, I had 2 other kids, and I just kind of was like, they were on the hip while I was working, and I didn't really stop, you know? And I'm like, I'm going to do maternity. In Canada, we get 9 to 12 months of paid maternity leave. I'm like, I'm going to do it this time. Yeah, it's great. So I did. So I like kind of gave up all the consulting business. I left the real estate business. I was like, it's kind of bored of it at that point, right? It was time to move on. I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe I'd get back into the consulting after, but in 2008, the recession hit, and it was like,
of course, yes.
It was just like there was nothing going on, right? Like it was the worst. I mean, worse than best thing I could have done, right? At the time, it was like, oh, how are we going to pay our mortgage? You know, like, plus the fact that I am not stay-at-home mom material. Like, I applaud women who can do that. I just couldn't do it. Like, I can remember the exact moment emptying the dishwasher again, the same dishes I had already put away that day. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I just can't do this anymore, right? Get me out of this house. So not everyone is cut out for it. I'm not cut out for it. You know, I love my kids, but it's like I needed more than those dishes, let me tell you. Like I couldn't find the joy in it. So yeah.
It's so true though, isn't it? It's funny because just working from home is sort of like COVID normal.
Yeah.
But like I've had an office on the major office in the city here in Melbourne, and it is so different compared to working from home. And everyone's saying, oh, working from home is great. And don't get me wrong, because I actually work from home. In fact, everyone at PackLogic too. And we've been doing that for 14 years. But I said to my wife recently, I said to her, you know what? I think we need an office. And I just need that, because there's no one here now. I'm as lonely as all that. Yeah, it's almost except for these times, yeah. And
I think especially now when you can't get out and do other social things a lot as much as normal. So it's kind of like the house is all you have. You know,
because
get a little.
I would normally be in a plane every few months traveling internationally around the world or something like that. And I'm thinking, I think I'm going stir crazy here.
I can definitely relate to that. Yeah.
So 2008 came along and you're saying, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay the mortgage? So what do you do?
So I applied to every job I could think of. I bombed so many interviews. Looking back, I'm like, oh my God, because I don't know. I truly believe in just being myself and who I am. And the type, like I was applying to the government of Canada. I'm not government material. Like at the time, I'm like, no, I'll go work for the government. This will be great. Looking back, that's not a fit. You know what I mean? Like I'm not patient enough to work in the government with all the bureaucracy, right?
I think I shoot myself.
Yeah, like it's not for me. And I know that now. And
sorry, that's not true.
No, go ahead.
If I was a dictator, I'd be good.
I don't think that's how it works in Canada, though, right?
Yeah, it's just sadly in Australia we don't have a benevolent dictator like I, of course, would be. I'd be a benevolent dictator. Of course. All for one and one for me.
Yeah.
With the result, I decided, public service, no, not for me.
Yeah, no, same. So, I mean, and it was one of those things where I just needed to find the right environment where I was going to thrive. And I walked into an interview at Momentous, which is Rob Hall's company. He's been around in the industry, in the domain industry for quite a while. And it was just a fit right from the start, right? Like, you know, their interview process was very, very different. That worked for me, right? Like it was, so it was good. And I started at the very, very bottom of Momentous. I started as Rob's assistant. Mm-hmm. I think I might have lasted a full year. I don't think I lasted longer than a year. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like it was just a little monotonous, right? Like, and that's the one thing about me is I like constant change, right? I'm going to get bored if I'm doing the same thing for too long. So, so I left for a couple months, and then Rob came back and he offered me a great opportunity. And I was like, this is amazing. So at the time he was running Zip.ca. He owned Zip.ca, which was DVDs by mail.
Yeah.
And he was building DVD kiosks to put in grocery stores. And that he offered me the challenge of running that and like building these kiosks and figuring out where to place them. And it was great. It was great.
Yeah. Wow. That was, so you're getting manufacturing experience now?
Oh, absolutely.
You're getting customer service stuff, like
logistics, development. You have no idea. Well, maybe you do. I had no idea what goes into just getting a can of Coke from a vending machine. Like, this is complex, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's middleware, there's firmware, there's software. Like, it was fascinating. It was fascinating. I loved it.
Yeah, it's complicated stuff, but then you've got to refuel the machine when you sell out of your Coke.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a whole other thing. And
what happens if people don't return them, and then the customer service issue? Oh my gosh, yeah, okay.
And the billing, there was a lot to it, but that was perfect for me, right? Like, it was great. It was great. I loved it. And I mean, Rob's a serial entrepreneur, so there was always another new business idea, something to kind of, grab onto and run with, building an app for this, an app for that, registries, registrars. So it was good fun. It was good fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you're there working away at Momentous. So what other things were you involved in at Momentous? Because Momentous has really obviously morphed away from their DVD kiosks.
Absolutely. And even at the time, Momentous had a registrar. Momentous owned pool.com. So I ran pool.com for a while. The registry business, we own the .sucks registry. So I ran that. That was great fun. What else?
Did you become the poster file for .sucks?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. All the registrars loved me.
Yeah.
They wanted to hate me, but they couldn't.
Yeah. And the brand owners, the trademark owners, they said, "Oh yeah,
they like me too." You know what? We would go to INTA every year, which is the trademark conference.
Yeah.
And it was always good fun. People, once you explain the story and you explain kind of what your thoughts are behind it, I mean, it's hard to argue, right? I still do believe that all brands should own their .sucks domain and they should be using it as a feedback forum. I mean, you and I have had this conversation. Like, why wouldn't you want to hear what your customers have to say? Why would you want to hide from that? You should be right out in front of it. Tell me so I can fix it, right?
I agree, because if the customers don't go to a .sucks, they're going to go somewhere.
And they're going to tell your story somewhere.
You may as well control the experience. And which is really crazy. Like, a lot of these big corporates, they're not controlling the experience. Yeah.
No. And the only way to get their attention is to go publicly on Twitter and embarrass them. You shouldn't have to do that to get good customer service, frankly. I know you have many stories. Yeah,
well, you probably saw on my blog recently the Nespresso story. I actually did a video. And because it was just a customer disaster, like it really was. And I'm a massive fan of Nespresso. Give me a quick shot of coffee. In fact, if you can give it to me in syringes, even better.
Keep it coming.
Yeah, and they just massively trashed everything. And so in the end, I said, "You're not going to do it." And I told them exactly what I was going to do. The customer support person, I'm going to create a video and I'm going to put it out there. It's going to go out to about 20,000 people or thereabouts. And I said, if I don't hear anything from you, then I'm going to actually put it up to about 1 million people a day. And they're like, "Yeah, as if you can do that." I'm going, "Just read up on me. I can do this."
Yeah. Really, I can do it.
Really tick me off now. Yeah. And so I then did that. And I found that the CEO for for Australia and all that sort of stuff, Nespresso, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great for this. So I sent him the link to the video and everything like that. And I told him exactly what I was going to do. Within 2 hours, he replied to me. And he was a wonderful guy. And he sorted it all out and everything like that. And he discovered some things about his organization, which weren't too good. And so I then did another video just recently. and saying it was a disaster recovery. They did a great job.
Yeah.
Recovering the situation. I just want to be fair. I enjoy my coffee.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be great for them to solve that ahead of time, right? It's one of the things, like, that's actually one of the things I want to help businesses with. It's like, it shouldn't take you going to the CEO to like, they have some serious problems along the way, if that's what it took. Someone should have stood up and been like, why can't we just solve this ourselves?
Yeah, it's a really interesting scenario. The thing that triggered me in this case was I got lied to.
Yeah.
And soon as someone lies to me in customer service, like, I'm very polite, and like to this day, I said they're very polite people and everything like that. But when the team leader lied to me, I said, "You just crossed a line, lady. That's it." and I just went after them. Yeah, and but it all ended well. But so many companies, you're right, that what they do is they think they can hide. In this day and age, you can't hide, and you may as well control that negative customer experience and turn it around.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that gets me is companies are willing to spend so much money on customer acquisition.
Yeah.
Why aren't you focused on retaining? You already have customers. Why don't you worry about keeping the customers that you have? Just keep your customers happy. Imagine the difference to your company and the difference to your bottom line if you just focus on the customers you have. Like, yeah, bring some more in, but it's just like everything's flipped, right? It doesn't make sense to me, right? Stop worrying about acquisition so much. Anyway.
One of the first things people do, like one of the first things I did, for example, was when I had my recent experience, I went in and Googled all the, like, basically Nespresso disasters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't believe how much there is there. There was just so much. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And they're not controlling a lot of this, and not trying to control the message or retain that customer, as you're saying.
Yeah.
And .sucks is great. So that must have been quite an experience for you to be running .sucks and convincing all these lawyers that, hey, this is not extortion. This is going to help the brand.
This will help you. Like, this is an opportunity for your brand. This is not, this is a huge opportunity for your brand. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So did you do anything else there, Momentous?
There were so many things. Honestly, I don't even know that I could remember them all. There was just so many little side projects here and there. Like, we would build apps for different things.
Were you involved in a veterinary?
School was fun. Yeah. So halfway through my time, I think it was 2013. My boss was like, "I'm going to move to the Turks and Caicos. Do you want to come?" I'm like, interesting. So I went home to my husband. I'm like, so what do you think? Should we just like drop everything, leave Canada, leave the cold winter? I was in right from the start, but he's like, why? Yeah, why wouldn't we? So we came, I think this was in March, he mentioned it. We came down to visit in April once for like 4 days to try and find a house to live in and just see whether we liked it, find schools for the kids. And then we moved here by the end of August. It was like, let's do it. Sold the house, sold the cars, sold the furniture. We didn't put anything in storage. We have our like memento boxes in people's attics of like the pictures, but everything else is gone. We just left. Yeah.
That's a big change for you guys.
It is a change. And at the time, I felt like in North America, we were getting caught up in, how do I describe it? In just like striving for bigger and better things. Like, we already had a lovely big home and we were like, we need to go buy a bigger home. And then we need a better car. We need and it's like, no, you don't need any of that, right? Like all of that, once you have a 3,000 square foot home, why do you need a bigger home? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me now, right? So it was kind of like a chance to just leave that all behind, sell everything. I mean, the Turks and Caicos is a very diverse country. There's poverty and there's extreme wealth. Most people don't care where you fall on that though, right? Like, there's people who are millionaires who drive 1992 Honda Civics, right? So you don't really know where people's wealth is. So it was really refreshing to just let that all go and just live in a small community where you're not commuting an hour a day. The office was like 5 minutes away. The beach is 5 minutes away. You know, there's no distractions to life other than just work and family.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. The other day, one of my daughters was talking to me saying, "Hey, Dad, why don't you just go and buy that car you've always wanted? Like, you can do it." And I said, "Yeah, but do I really need it? Like, when you acquire something, then you got to look after it."
Yeah.
And you sort of think, do I really want to bother looking after this thing? Yeah. And it's like if you acquire and buy anything, you now have to have a spot for it.
Yeah.
You now have to think,
and
like, do you really need
that's okay. Like some stuff, yeah. If it's like, if you've been working hard and you want to buy yourself a nice car or
that's fine.
a cottage, then go for it. But you don't, it was like just this like, well, what's next? Well, what's next? Well, let's just go into more debt. Let's go into more debt. And it just didn't make sense anymore, you know? And I think it was kind of something we had to like cut cold turkey, right? It was like living down here, you can't even go into debt because the banks are not going to give you any money. If you want a credit card, you want a credit card for $10,000, you have to give the bank the $10,000. So it's not a credit card. Like, it's like the most bizarre thing. It's like, this isn't credit. This is me giving you my money and you giving me a debit card, right?
It forces you to work within your means, though, to live within your means.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. And I know so many people who got caught up in that debt cycle and everything like that. And I like looking at my car and say, yeah, I own that car. And I'd like looking at our house. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. And I just like, do I need to have more money and everything? Yeah. What I'd rather do is do what you're doing, which is discover what you really enjoy in life. Did you like having these changes and things like that? If you look at just what you've shared so far, and I think it's really exciting saying, okay, that's what I like to do. Yeah, and it's not acquiring more stuff, it's having the more experiences.
Absolutely. Traveling places, spending time in other countries, like,
That's great. I love doing that.
That's what's more important. Yeah. So it's been good. It's not all, I always tell people, it's not all like palm trees and beaches. Let me tell you, like living in a different country, you're a guest in the country, despite the fact that you want to live here. They don't have to let you live here, right? So you have to be respectful, and
be humble.
A little bit behind the times, you know, like it's you still can't buy alcohol on Sundays. Like there's just like it's a bit of a different world down here, but I like it. Oh, that's so diverse. There's people from Australia, there's people from the States, there's people from all over Europe, all over the Caribbean. It's fantastic. Yeah.
That's great. So now you finished up recently with Momentous.
Yeah.
And you said, I want a new adventure.
Yes.
And this adventure is, you said, I know what I want to do. I want to go on a new adventure. I want to be able to do to have a new fun experience of this next part of my life. And so what is it?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been wanting to go back into the consulting business for a few years now, right? And there was always reasons why not to do it. But I think everyone can relate that 2020 kind of has shown us all that you just don't know what life's going to bring you. So you may as well just take the leap. Take the leap while you can, right? So it was like, let's just do it. What are we waiting for? So I left Momentous a month ago, and now I'm doing my own consulting business again. And I'm just so excited to work with businesses again and help them build their businesses and fix like issues they're having, you know, and I'm just excited. I'm excited.
That's great. Yeah. So the name of the business is?
So it's GrowthStrategy.pro. So I used a new GTLD, GrowthStrategy.pro. Domain is going to love that.
Yeah, GrowthStrategy.pro.
Yeah, that's right. So what I'm focused on, I want to help women leaders for sure, but I think this doesn't really matter what type, whether it's a male or female led business. I think a lot of times there's really three different buckets that I believe any business needs to really look at. And the first is, do you have a clear vision and roadmap? Do you have the right people, and are you equipped to lead them? And then the third thing is, do you have the right structure in your business to support your vision? And I think that's what's really critical. So for your vision roadmap, like, do you really know where you want to be in 5 to 10 years. You know, when I think a lot of times businesses think they do, and they might have their core values or their vision up on the wall, but is that really what you're striving for? Is that really what you're living? Is it real, or is it just words on the wall? And do your team understand that vision, right? And is your roadmap going to get you to that vision? So I think that's sort of the number one critical piece. And then the second thing, which I think I'm the most passionate about, is building the team, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you have the right people? Are they in the right jobs? You know, I was actually listening to, it was a Shopify, a podcast with one of the C-level executives, the founders of Shopify. And he was saying how they have to re-qualify for their jobs every year. So he's the founder. He's not just going to get his job. Like, he has to make sure he's still qualified, because as the business grows, the people that you had at the beginning might not be the right people to lead you to the future, right? And then, I mean, are you equipped to lead them also? Right?
Yeah, that is so true. And what you're saying there is that it's actually really quite a challenge. Like, I've been a founder of a number of businesses.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned from that is to constantly put time into learning for myself.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I don't learn, then that means the business won't be able to grow.
Yeah.
And I've got to learn a diverse range of skills and everything like that in that process. And it can be really challenging, to allocate that time. You have to say, to methodically do it.
Yeah, a lot of leaders are just running from task to task, and like with their blinders on, they're not even looking up to see where they're headed, right? It's just like, the business is so overwhelming for them because there's so much to do, that I don't even know if they're clear on where they're headed, you know?
And it's a good thing for businesses also on a sort of semi-regular basis, is to check to make sure that they are still heading where they think they're heading.
1,000,000%. Yeah. And that's part of the structure. Like, you have to have you have to put structure in place to make sure you are evaluating. Like, at least every 3 months, you need to sit down and be like, okay, this is where we want to go. Are we still headed there? Like you said. So
it's a really big challenge, but it's beyond that. Also, I find is that it's one thing to be talking about just business, but there's also life. Like, how do you then balance, as an entrepreneur, for instance, your business and your focus and your drive and your ambitions there, with the fact you've got a family at home and kids and a wife or a husband and all those sort of things. And I must admit, like, this caused me to reflect on, I'm not sure if you've been on Clubhouse or anything like that, interesting experience. But I've actually just launched a Clubhouse club, which is Entrepreneurship and Life.
Oh, wonderful. See, that's great.
Talking about those issues, because the thing I discovered is that, and it'd be great to have you on there, by the way. The thing I discovered is you got all these entrepreneurs who are really excited about growing their business, but they sometimes forget that, you know what, there's no point climbing that ladder of success to find it's leaning against that wrong wall. And if you look around and you go, oh, I don't have a relationship with my kids. Oh, this is my third wife, or whatever.
And I do believe, like, in my core, that it is possible to have it all, especially as a woman.
I do too.
Because it is, you do feel like you're being pulled in different directions. But, you know, looking back, there's times where on the family vacations, I was on the phone the whole time because, I mean, who knows what was going on. And looking back, did that really have to happen? No. Like, I could have put the structure in place and the team in place to handle some of this stuff. It doesn't always have to be you. And that's really what I'm most passionate about, like I said, especially for females, because we are kind of told you have to choose between having kids or having a career. And I can tell you, you don't. I've had 3 kids. I do have the best supportive husband in the world, but it is possible to have it all, you know?
I agree with you. I think you can have it all as well, but you've got to make decisions so that you can. I've been married for 34 years. I have 3 wonderful kids and everything like that, and I have a great business. I actually, I've described this to many people, to be quite blunt with you, that I have the closest thing to heaven on earth. I really do. But I didn't always have that. I had to make decisions to do that. And to have someone like yourself to help guide people and businesses, and not just businesses, but the people themselves, particularly founders, in that direction with GrowthStrategy.pro. And it's so needed out there. And it was so needed, in fact, that's why I've set up this Clubhouse thing. But I think that people really need to hear from others who've done it, like yourself.
Yeah. And from our mistakes, right? Like, I've made mistakes along the way. I wish
we were perfect.
Exactly. It's like, and that's my point, is like, looking back, it's like, why did I miss that recital? Like, in the grand scheme of the world, whatever business issue that I had to solve, it could have waited 2 hours, right? But sometimes you feel pulled, and in the end, it comes down to being able to look yourself in the mirror and have integrity and be like, what is important to me, right? And like you said, businesses are made of people, right? And that is what makes businesses great. If you get the right people, and if you put trust in them, and if you build them up to be the best versions of themselves, your business is going to thrive. Like, there's no question. And there's statistics to prove it. Actually, Google did a study that they were trying to figure out what makes a good team. So within Google, they have how many dozens and millions of teams, right? And they did a study, and they were trying to figure out, well, is it the smartest people? Is it the, it took them a long time to figure out that it actually has nothing to do with the people. It's about how they work together. And the first part of it was building a safe environment where people felt like they could make mistakes and just work together and say whatever they thought, right?
Wow.
So,
yeah. So I must admit, like, we could probably talk on this topic.
I know. I could go on and on.
Sadly, I can't. Is there anything else you want to share in particular right now?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, I'm excited to get going. I'm like,
oh, you can tell it. Just look at your face. I'm thinking, this is a woman on a mission.
Absolutely.
Can I just say,
I'm always a woman on a mission.
Absolutely. Can I just say, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this conversation segment, and I wish you all the best. And I'm sure you're going to do an awesome time and have a great experience on this new adventure before you. Christina, fantastic having you here, and I wish you all the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's been so great to catch up.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that video and you find them really valuable for your business and helping you make better decisions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or pass the video on to your friends. Anyway, thanks a lot for that. Have a great day. Bye.